Everybody, we've got another very special guest for you all. Everybody, please welcome to the show, Chris O'Hara. Welcome, Chris.
Hey everybody.
Thanks for being here, man. We have quite a bit to talk about today. We love having people that are involved with publishing comics on the show, so we're going to talk about that
Sweet.
in a second. We have to do the annoying thing of putting you through the gauntlet of giving us your origin story in comics, writing comics, and how you got involved and all that stuff, and then we can talk about the fun stuff.
Okay. Both are fun. I don't know why you're downgrading my origin story so quickly.
No, all right, okay,
You haven't
okay,
even heard
yeah.
it yet.
Listen,
Yeah,
as long as you
Hold
weren't
on.
bitten by anything radioactive
yeah.
or went
Yeah.
down crime alley, we're good.
No.
A bat flew in your window. Yeah.
Unfortunately not. Well, I mean, sadly, the funnier part is I've done a handful of these, and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like, all right, I just got to start making up my origin
Yeah.
story because it's getting boring. I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was gonna say though is I've done a lot of these, so I'm starting to think I need to start making up an origin story
yeah.
that's different every time.
For sure.
'Cause it's starting to get boring, but
You'd be like
that's
Hawkman.
fine. Yeah, I'll just wing it. I'll come up with something.
You don't
But-
know what your origin is after a while. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
don't know what the truth is. So
Yeah.
I started. My origin story basically is my dad inked for Marvel
Okay.
a long time ago, in the early '80s, and then so like my whole childhood was filled with comic book stuff for a long time. I had a
awesome.
huge mural on my bedroom wall, like this wall right behind me. Just the entire thing was Spider-Man on one side swinging in. He had like Venom and Doc Ock and Kingpin and all the villains on the other side like coming for the attack. It's
That's
really
amazing.
cool, and it's like comic book quality art
Yeah.
too, just
Wow.
on your wall. So that was kind of my childhood, was just filled with that stuff. We had a
I'm so jealous.
big walk-in closet that was just for comics. You know, no clothes went in there. It was
Oh
just
my
box
God.
upon box upon box upon box. I remember we went through one time to kind of look at all of the value of all of his books he had, because he had been collecting since he was a kid.
Mhm.
And he was born in 54.
Oh,
So,
okay. Some good stuff.
He
Yeah.
had good stuff.
Yeah.
And next thing we know, we're at like $150,000 worth of comics, and we're like halfway through your stash.
Oh my
So,
God.
that was kind of what I was brought up in, was everything
Wow.
pop culture, comics, games, movies, everything.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it was a really cool childhood. I had a lot of fun. That said, he ended up leaving,
Mhm.
as some do, but he left when I was around 8.
Okay.
And at 8, I stopped doing anything. I just stopped reading comics. I stopped I used to draw. I was like obviously I was emulating my dad or trying to get into that. So I just kind of fell off, got rid of everything, didn't really care anymore, just started going into sports and doing other kind of things that I, left behind his stuff. And then it's a, fast forward situation of, when I turned 30, or actually maybe a little bit later than that, my buddy John Shell, who is the co-founder of Bentbox Comics, our company. Anyway, my buddy John Shell, who's the co-founder, he ended up starting to write his own comic book called The Last Wand, which was a really cool fantasy book. Got me interested in the idea of comics, kind of brought back that passion of, oh, this is really cool. This is a fun medium that I can kind of get into. I can do storytelling with. I've always been kind of a creative person. Like, I want to tell stories, and I've always been into writing and sketching and everything, basically. So, including like screenplays, writing screenplays, video games, doing indie video games for a while. So, always been into basically everything pop culture and entertainment. So
Yeah.
this turned into something where I was like, oh, this is actually a medium where I can get my thoughts in my head onto a piece of paper and sell it, and it looks pretty good. So we did it.
And
And,
it probably has a higher success rate than like a screenplay. Most of
Yes.
the time, right?
yes, at least so far.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe one of my plays will make it big one day. They're still
Yeah,
sitting on a
hopefully.
Google Doc, but probably not. Yeah.
That's awesome though. I mean, so and And around that time, when does Bent Box Comics come into play? Was that relatively recently, or?
Ish. So
Yeah.
John started doing his thing first, and the funny thing is, and if John sees this, he'll readily admit he was going through an identity crisis of
Okay.
like renaming his brand every once in a while, trying to figure out what he wanted to do. I've always been a big brand guy. Like I like marketing and branding and making
Yep.
sure that, logos look good, and I'm a graphic designer. So it was definitely okay, I have an idea for a comic book. Before I even started writing the comic book, I came up with Bentbox Comics. That's going to be my brand. This is going to be the logo, yada, yada,
Nice.
yada.
Mm-hmm.
So I started making my own thing. And then once we got to a point where we were kind of doing it together, but just adjacent,
Mm-hmm.
we said, why are we doing this not together? I was like, it doesn't make sense. He lives 45 minutes away from my house. We can meet up, we can have meetings, we can merge our books, we can kind of build something bigger than just one guy can do. So we ended up turning it into, thankfully, he agreed that Bentbox Comics was better than some of the ones he was, mulling around.
Right.
So we ended up just adopting Bentbox, and he became a co-founder. So now we work together as a publishing house, kind of like an indie publishing house, small press for other creators and
That's
ourselves.
awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
When you guys finally came together and Bentbox became a reality, what was the first thing you guys decided to publish? And I'm assuming through Kickstarter, but
Yeah, everything's been through Kickstarter so far. I mean, John had already had 3 books out by then. I think it was 3. The first one we published under Bentbox was technically my book because he already had 3. So those were kind of like now we just need to stamp the logo on the cover, and now they're ours. The companies. So to have something fresh that is brand new from Bentbox, it ended up being mine, which was a book called Artificial, or a series called Artificial, which funded successfully on Kickstarter. We have issues 1 and 2 out, both funded on Kickstarter, with issue 3 in the works soon. So that was our first series as Bentbox. Even though we technically, as that was releasing, we already had like a library of books, thanks to John.
Yeah. Yeah, like if people check out the website, like you can see the Last Wand is on there.
Yep.
Like you had mentioned earlier and stuff like that. I guess I also see Worlds Forgotten on there and some other stuff like Wingless. I guess we could talk about that now because you do have a Kickstarter coming up for Worlds Forgotten issue 1
Yeah.
and 2, right? So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so that's John's book.
Okay.
I keep telling him he needs to be a little more on the ball with getting on shows and doing things.
Yep.
But as the co-founder part of it, I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
take on some of it. So let me
Yeah,
just
right.
And plus, if I'm trying to be a publisher of other people's work, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pitch their stuff too. So
Yep.
that's kind of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But Worlds Forgotten is our most read book on Global Comics. If you're not familiar with Global Comics, highly recommend go checking it out, downloading the app, and reading issue 1 for free
Nice.
of Worlds Forgotten. But we released that for free on Global Comics because the background for this series is it started as a bunch of, not incoherence, that's a mean way of putting it, but a bunch of jumbled pages that John wasn't really sure what to do with. He had a story, he had something put together. This was a couple months after we came together as Bentbox. I'm over at his house one day, we're having lunch and just hanging out, talking the business, talking about how the industry's working, everything like that. And he said, have I showed you, like my Google Drive? Let me show you some of the stuff on there. So we're looking at it. And this was right before Global Comics kind of had a decent just boom. I'm looking on his drive, and basically we spent 30 minutes looking at these pages, and he's like, I have no idea what to do with this. And together we went, oh, well, page 1, page 2, this one will be page 3, this one should be page 4, make sure, and then we need to fill in 3 pages here. And we built Worlds Forgotten 1.
Okay. Wow.
That way we could use it, because he had 30 pages, and we're like, this is just sitting here wasting space. This is collecting digital dust
Yep.
on a Google Drive. Once we were really happy with it, it only took a couple days, and then we posted that bad boy on Global Comics for free as a test. It quickly got thousands and thousands of views. I think it's up to 6,000 views so far, page
Nice.
views. And then when John realized that it's good, or at least people are enjoying it, he made sure to invest in issue 2. So right now issue 2 is actually complete. It follows the main character Keon. He See, that's another thing. I know everything, but I don't know what he wants me to give away. But basically, it's kind of like an action adventure fantasy book. I've seen all the pages. The art is phenomenal. It's by a gentleman named Ruben. It's kind of like a interdimensional traveling book where he ends up finding that he has these powers and he can travel between dimensions. And there's this fantasy aspect of it with elves and wands and magic, mixed a little bit with sci-fi. So it's a really fun book. So yeah, that is currently on Kickstarter, or it's currently on pre-launch on Kickstarter. Whenever that comes out, you'll be able to finally get World's Forgotten 1 physically. Right now it's only available digitally on Global Comics. You can still go read it right now for free. But if you're a collector, if you like, indie books, make sure to go back it on Kickstarter. That way you can get a physical copy. And then issue 2's done. That's one of the few things that we've tried to do as Bentbox is typically if we come out with a Kickstarter, we want to make sure that it's done. You're not going to have to wait around for months or years for an issue to come out and show up in your mail that you forgot that you even backed. So, that's kind of the thing we're proud about. And so it's ready to go. It's just we're trying not to step on each other's toes because we also have a couple of other books we're trying to segment out. So like mine's going to be coming out soon, Refuge, which we can talk about in a bit. And then as soon as that Kickstarter's done, John's going to launch World's Forgotten 2.
Perfect.
Yeah, what I like about the pre-launch page of World's Forgotten, first, this image is very in your face, and I love it, of, I'm assuming the main character and some sort of mythical
like a dragon
cow something.
Dragon cow. I like that.
But then like right underneath it, you have the QR code to read the first issue, which I'm assuming will take you to Global Comics.
Yes, sir.
And what a lot of people don't do, which is put the preview pages up, like show the comic. Like, why am I always wonder why somebody's going to hit the notify me on launch when all they have is like, it's
a title,
my comic book by me, and nothing else.
It's nice to have some sample pages on there.
So, and I know it's new to Kickstarter, but I'm glad to see some people take advantage of it.
That being newer is kind of nice. I mean, Indiegogo did that for a while, and I did a second chance campaign for Artificial One with Indiegogo just to see how it felt. And immediately setting up the pre-launch and being able to have so much content on the pre-launch was awesome. And I was super excited. I was like, man, Indiegogo knows what it's doing with this.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the second I saw Kickstarter doing it, I was like, well, you're copying, but you're doing the right thing. This should have been there.
Yeah.
Competition's a good thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, you kind of set us up for the segue there, talking about Refuge. So let's just move into that. That's an all ages action adventure story you're doing, right? So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that one's awesome. Mine. So I've written so many books. Similar to John, I have a bunch of stuff collecting digital dust on a Google Doc somewhere. Refuge was one of the earlier ones I wrote that I was excited about. Wasn't really, I kind of had a very loose premise that's kind of, honestly, most of my stories come from a title. I'll just think of Refuge, interesting. I'll literally write that down on a Google Doc. And then in parentheses, need more things, or need more,
and
stuff. And then I'll move on and figure out something else. And it was one of the ones I came back to, and I finally had basically a heading that I wanted to go with. So I started writing it, and it follows a young child soldier named Pavel. I'm keeping it slightly vague on the time period and war, but it is kind of like a Soviet Russia era war going on. He is a child soldier of that time period, and the book follows him escaping the cruelties of war to find refuge in a nearby mountaintop from the battlefield. And as he goes deeper into the battlefield, or into the mountaintop, he ends up discovering he's not alone. So that is the very vague, elevator pitch for that, because I honestly don't want to give up much more than that. But it is an all ages action adventure. It's kind of a challenge. I haven't written in all ages yet. Now, Artificial is definitely a, maybe preteen and up, not necessarily for kids per se. I mean, this one I'm honestly playing a little fast and loose with the all ages, but it's kind of calling back to the old school like Don Bluth Disney of like, kids had things happen sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had tragedy happens, and it's not a bad thing to allow kids to go through that. So it's showing off war. There's like nightmare stuff in there, but I'm trying to wrap it all up in a way to where it'd be good for a kid to kind of go through that kind of a storytelling rather than fluff piece almost. But yeah, so it's going to be a short story, not short story, a short series of 4 to 5 issues, where it kind of just follows Pavel and an unannounced character, through just a wild adventure of like a fantasy world.
Yeah.
And if you look at these preview pages you have on, because you have the pre-launch page up right
Yes,
now, so the art is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
I think the character design and everything on that, it's really cool. Can you talk about the artist for a second?
Yeah,
there?
for sure.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say I'll put that out there real quick before talking about the artist. Is this book is 100% led through the art.
Yep.
I love artists. I was raised by one briefly, and then I was one at some point briefly.
Yep.
And I just appreciate what they can bring to a story, and I do feel like sometimes their input is underutilized, because they know what looks good. They know what the pacing should be typically, especially if you find a good one. So the artist's name is Lucas Jensen. He's from Brazil. He's very young. He's extremely talented. I haven't seen him do too many other books yet, so I kind of found him in a time of like a diamond in the rough situation of I really liked some of the stuff I was seeing, reached out to him, pitched the idea. He doesn't speak English, which was a lot of fun. I've worked with a Brazilian artist in the past with Artificial. That actually spurred me on to learn a little Portuguese, which has just been kind of a pastime for me.
Okay. Cool.
But that was a lot of fun. So we would have meetings with Lucas with Refuge, and he would have, I'm assuming his girlfriend, would be a translator. And there were a handful of moments where she went to translate. I was like, no, I got it. So this is why I was able to kind of figure out what he wanted to say, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
I love that. That's my favorite part about like collaborating with people.
Portuguese got to be really hard because I work with some Brazilians, and whenever I hear that language, I can't. It's so hard for my brain to decipher.
when you're good at it, when they're talking fast, I mean, holy cow!
It's like three different languages in one to me.
It's
is
like
what it sounds
French and Spanish, and then like there's another language thrown in there. But there is like moments where I'm like, okay, I picked up dark, I picked up run, I picked up hide. I know what he's trying to say here, and then I can answer.
That's cool.
That's been awesome. So,
That's awesome.
But yeah, you're not wrong. It's hard.
I love when looking through these pages. Like he knows exactly. Like his art can be complex in moments, but he isn't afraid to go simple in some of the pages, and I think that is really. It's wise beyond his years. If you say he's a younger artist, to have an entire page that's almost, I would say, like 70%
all
black.
free space. It's almost all empty space.
Right.
And I love it. And that was one of those ones where. So what I was alluding to earlier is that because it is fully led by the art, there's going to be no speech bubbles. There's no narration. It's literally just you're following these characters.
That's cool.
Who can't really communicate to each other. One's Russian, one's unannounced. I mean, you get it by the preview. It's kind of like this gnarly monster. It's going to be this terrifying presence. And I'm really excited to build this kind of relationship between these two characters. But that's how the story is going to work, which has been a huge challenge. But thankfully, Lucas is awesome. He's made it. He understands the assignment, basically. Like he understands, okay, we are telling the story through art. We need to be very specific and direct about what we're putting on the page. We need to make sure that there is no issue following panel to panel to panel with what's happening, because you don't have that benefit of the character thinking of his directive or anything like that. So I'm not saying it's hard. to write a story without words, but it's a challenge because there's so many times where I'm like, I could just say the thing here and it would be a thing.
Right,
and then I wouldn't even have to pay him for this page because I could literally probably just say it in a panel.
Yeah.
But now I'm having to literally do a whole page to describe this event. A lot of fun. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm very blessed to have found him. He's very talented. There's a lot of it I try and direct because I know what I want to see. And then there's a handful of moments where I try and do the trust thing where I say, hey, Lucas, you're freaking awesome. You know, like you puff them up. If you give your artist, like a riling speech before he's about to tackle your pages, typically he understands that there's trust. He understands that he kind of has some creative liberty. Typically, like if you allow him that, and that's kind of what I've done. Is I say for that page specifically, I'm like I want. I mean, it's in there, but I was like, I want a heavy focus on the lighter. I want that to kind of drive the page. I want it to feel like Pavel's alone and scared. And I said, and these are the beats we need to hit. And that's kind of how I do the page. And then I let Lucas have fun. That's cool. Basically what I say is have fun. Yeah. So make it what you think would look cool. And that's what he came up with.
Yeah, and you get a quick glimpse in the last page of the monster you've mentioned. And I think he does a great job of making it look like a presence, like something that would terrify you if you were in the room with it. But as an observer, almost in a How to Train a Dragon like way, it's adorable.
Right.
And you want like a plushie of him.
In the works.
Oh, right. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, he did a great job on that too. It's everything here. The art's just phenomenal.
Yeah. No, he killed it. And then he went above and beyond because he really liked the vision of the story, which gave me confidence. You know, that's another thing. That's a symbiotic relationship where if you see your artist is invested in the story that he's being paid to do, outside of just the fact that it's a paycheck,
right?
That's very helpful. And it helps you turn it more into a project and less into a job.
Right.
So, as we're working through it, he gave me page upon page of little sketches of like concept art for the Beast, concept art for Pavel. And it was just really fun watching him just send stuff every couple of days that he was like, hey, I was sketching this. What about this idea? What about these, the hands this way? What about a horn this way? What about the color scheme? So everything kind of, we spent a lot of time getting the designs the way we wanted. Nothing was really quick and dirty. Everything was very methodical. But a lot of that came from the fact that Lucas just gave me a plethora of creative ideas that he just thought of. So that was very helpful.
That's great.
And you said earlier that you're a graphic designer by trade, and you always are thinking about the logo and everything. So I'm going to say the logo here is really great too. You managed to kind of capture the monster in a way in the logo. Yeah, and I just think it's really great.
I appreciate it. Honestly, that was another one. It's funny. That's just how I work. So like when I thought of the word refuge, I also thought of the vision of that word on a cover. I had to think of that. I had a Soviet era, I think it's called Red October was the font, something like that. So I just sent it over to him and I said, hey, can you make this look like the monster? I said, just type out refuge and then draw over it with monster fur. Put some horns on the sides. And then when he sent it back to me, I was like, it's the freaking logo. That's it. I was like, it looks awesome. Great. No, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about this is going to be your next project coming out on Kickstarter. Do you have a time when it's going to hit? Or do you know
so kind of we were originally planning for April was our original plan then. And I will say this, it had 20 followers about 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. And then I woke up one morning and it had 150 and I was very confused because I hadn't really posted about it that much. I was honestly being kind of reserved about that. And then it slowly started growing, so now it's at like 169. So then I turned it more into a lot of people will do this if they have a decent follower count. They'll go, hey, when we hit 200, we'll launch or something.
Oh, cool.
So
awesome.
I would like to do that, if you have any viewers out there or any listeners who are interested in an all ages book. And by all ages, honestly, like John read through it. He's not a child. And he loved it. So like it kept him engaged. He really liked it. He's very excited about it being part of Bentbox. So, it's something you can read. If you have kids, you can have your kids read it or, go through it with them. But yeah.
Cool.
So hopefully if we hit 200 tomorrow, we launch.
All right.
AKA, that's what I'm trying to get at. So
okay, let's get some more people on that page.
What about Worlds Forgotten? Does that one have a similar timeline?
similar, but it was supposed to just launch after Refuge.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
because April was supposed to be the launch date, then he planned for the month after.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's kind of because the book's done for him, so it doesn't really matter. It's
Okay.
whenever,
And do you,
which
as
is a benefit.
a publisher, do you have a lineup for the next couple as well?
Yeah. So we've been really hard at work. If you go check out our Global Comics, I keep pitching that. I expect a nice fat check soon from them because I literally plug it everywhere.
Yep,
But
that's awesome.
if you go check it out, I mean, you'll see we have 10 series, 15 launches, and that's all within maybe 18 months. We've kind of like put all that out there. So we're trying to keep that momentum. Right now, I feel like we've built a decent library of good books. That's, kind of our goal is, if you see that Bent Box logo, you're going to think quality. That's really just what I'm going for. And I've had a handful of people say that. I've had a handful of people reach out and be like, hey, I really loved Wingless. I saw that you had another book come out called Orium. I saw the Bent Box logo on it, so I just assumed it'd probably be pretty good, and I bought it. And someone
Nice.
said that verbatim, and I was like, okay. So
That's great.
I said, I think we're doing it, guys.
Yeah,
I think we're
that's
figuring it out. So that's been great, and it's been very encouraging. So we're going to try and keep that momentum going. We have Orium 2, should be finished pretty soon. More than likely, what you're going to see is just Kickstarter after Kickstarter after Kickstarter. When one ends, another one's going to kind of start for the majority of 2025.
That's awesome.
I have a couple people I'm working on with unannounced projects that will be launching at the end of the year. But yeah, you'll just see a handful of stuff come out, kind of trickle out throughout the year.
Great.
And I'm noticing on there too, you've got these Bent Box shorts as well.
Yeah.
What's up with those?
So that was actually a really fun idea. And I feel like a lot of the things we come up with come from accidents or like not unintentional. So we really wanted to do an anthology. We started to do an anthology. We had a bunch of creators working on it. As some do, it fell through. Some people couldn't afford to pay their artists. We weren't necessarily backing everything yet. It was more of a, hey, do you have a short story you'd like to tell? We'll figure out a way to publish it. So as we were working through this anthology, it started to fall through. Well, one of the creators, Star Million, well, he's known as Star Million, John Orozco, who is the author of Orium, had a really cool Christmas story that he was like, well, now I just have a Christmas story. Because it was supposed to be for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's post it. I was like, let's make a digital shorts series on Global Comics only. I'm going to design the logo real quick, which is what I did, and that's what you're seeing, because I love doing that kind of stuff. So I quickly came up with Bent Box Shorts, and he was the first to post. It got a decent amount of views, and then I found some artist who says, hey, I have 2 4-page stories that I don't really know what to do with, but I'd like to get them out there. And I was like, hey, you want to post them on Bent Box Shorts? And so I was like, you're just utilizing our audience, our readership. And so he did, and then that got, I think, a couple thousand views. That was the Eldridge. Oh man,
Elder Sigil?
Elder Sigil. My goodness. Sorry. Thank you. By Matthew Magny. So that was like a fun little one that got a lot of traction. And then we just launched another one by a really talented artist named Yu Fang from, I believe, New Jersey. And that's kind of just a preview of a book he's working on. So I appreciate you bringing that up. It's kind of a test series that we're working on, and it's being utilized almost as a marketing tool for up and coming artists, writers, that have 4 pages, but they don't have anywhere to put it.
Cool.
It's a cool way to build an anthology too. You get enough of them together, and then here we go. We got an anthology.
Yep.
That was the plan.
Yep.
that was the behind the little plan in the back. And I said that to everyone who's come on. I said, now I love what you're bringing. I'm obviously, and I've turned some people down from posting. It's not everyone gets to post there, because some things were like they were okay, and I was like, work on this, maybe work on that, and then maybe we'll post it. But everyone else I've mentioned, I was like, hey, if we get enough Eldridge style stories, we got an anthology to build. And I was like, and we can put yours in it. We'll publish it. So yeah, cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
And those are more free comics for people to pick up, too.
And they're just free. It's a free digital shorts series on Global Comics. Not a sponsor.
That's amazing.
I'll be contacting them later.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And before we wrap up today, just to get back to Refuge, do you have any sort of tiers for backing or anything that you want to talk about a little bit? Like any options for that stuff when it does come out?
Sure. So we have 3 covers. So I've never been really one of to do alternate covers, or at least not like some people do 50.
Yeah.
I've done 2. I'll do one and then another one, and typically they're by the same artist. It's by the interior artist. I'm honestly just a fan of the interior artist doing the cover. If he has a different idea for the cover, then we just do an alternate cover, and then it's just him. That said, I've worked with so many really talented artists so far that I gave obviously Lucas Jensen the main cover, and then I have 2 alternate covers by 2 very talented artists. One is Gabriel Fonseca. I can show. You mentioned earlier that the share feature doesn't work super well, but I could share them if you wanted. They're not in the Kickstarter, but it's up to you. So I have 2 alternate covers.
Okay.
One by Gabriel Fonseca and one by Brian Middleton. That look really great. Brian Middleton's cover is kind of like a Calvin and Hobbes feel. Mm-hmm. Which was just an immediate fit. I saw his style, and I immediately was like, hey, man, I have something for you. Please. Even to a point where in the 3rd book, so right now this is Refuge Chapter 1. In the 3rd book, I plan on having a short handful of pages that are almost like a dream sequence where I'm going to have him do the art to kind of just give a little variety. And also, I just really love his art style, and I think it will fit like a dream sequence. Cool. Anyway, so that's kind of the tier system right now. We just have cover A, B, and C. We do have a digital and a digital deluxe. Digital deluxe will come with all of those really cool concept arts that I mentioned previously that Lucas did. Because he did so many, I was like, I have to show these off. They're really cool. Can't wait to hear everyone say you really should have went with this design instead of that design, because I'm sure that's going to come.
Yep.
But that's fine. So we got a bunch of really cool stuff there for the digital deluxe, and then nothing really major yet. Like I'm talking not like a $150 tier where you get a 10-foot size plushie of the monster. Nothing like that yet. But that said, this is chapter 1 of 4 chapters, and we do plan on hopefully the series does well. And if it does well, we plan on doing a plushie. We plan on doing a bunch of really cool stuff as it progresses. So
cool.
Support it so you can get cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's my message.
So no sexy cover of the monster in a bikini or anything like
No,
that?
we went.
No.
I feel like that went
covers.
against the all ages part. Just didn't really fit well with
just
that.
a little bit. Yeah.
But hey, it could have sold. You're right. We could have made a little extra money.
Missing out of that cash grab on Kickstarter.
Yeah. Yes. So no,
amazing.
none of that.
Okay, but the plushie will go a long way. That'll be a huge hit, I'm sure.
I'm hopeful. We even have like a company lined up. We have it all lined up. It's just I don't know if you've ever gotten into plushie building and like paying for it's expensive.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
Unless you count Build-A-Bear, no.
Yeah, and even Build-A-Bear is stinking expensive.
Yeah,
but it's like you gotta like I think buy at least 2,000.
Yeah,
for it to be worth
crazy
it.
Part. Yeah,
and then you're spending $8 a pop. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, that is.
So
wow.
Anyway, but if it does well, that's the goal. Have a plushie, have a bunch of really cool stuff, maybe some spin-off things. But
awesome.
Yeah, right now it's just kind of bare bones. You're getting the book, you're getting a high quality product. That's our goal. Trying to also make it fairly affordable. So the digital copy, you guys can't see this yet because you don't have it open, but the digital copy is $4. Digital deluxe is $6. Cool. The standard physical copy is only $8. And then the 2 additional covers are both $10 each, the alternate covers.
Great.
So, and then I have a bundle in there for $25. You get everything. So, trying to keep it pretty affordable comparatively.
Yeah.
I love to hear that your prices are good too. I mean, that's been a constant battle on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Something always
yeah.
comes up.
That should be a running theme for Bentbox. That's another thing is I obviously we can't, we're not gonna have a $4 physical floppy. It's just not gonna be a thing,
Right.
at least for a little bit. But it'll be semi-affordable. It'll be fairly affordable.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go
I
ahead,
was just
Chris.
going through your global comics list and everything, and I mean, it looks like you have a lot of cool books here. I think Refuge looks cool. I love the art there, and The Last Wand is really calling my name right now too. Just
Cool.
the art in that book looks so phenomenal. So, just throughout, it looks like you have a lot of cool projects that you've got already put out, and hopefully more coming soon from all of them.
Yeah, yeah. We have plans to have a lot coming out. That's our goal. We have a decent roadmap set up.
Great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Refuge. I think it looks awesome. So hopefully we can get 200 backers or at least followers to get that released a little early. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And anywhere you want to send our viewers and listeners if they want to follow like you or Bentbox specifically, do you have a page you want to send them to?
So thankfully Bentbox wasn't taken anywhere, which is always fun. That's always
That's
great.
amazing. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean Bentbox Comics at least. So if you go anywhere and type in Bentbox Comics, you will find us. So just keep that in mind. We have a YouTube channel. We've been trying to be very we started it in January. Actually, we started a while ago, but we started being very intentional with the YouTube channel. So we have weekly long-form discussions with the co-founder and I where we just talk about things. And so we're bringing constant content. We have daily clips, but that's obviously just Bentbox Comics on YouTube. And then everywhere else, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, Blue Sky, I think even, Threads. We're everywhere.
Awesome.
And to everybody out there watching or listening, you should know the drill by now. Down in the show notes below, there are links to all these Kickstarter campaigns, to the Bentbox website, as well as the Global Comics page. So you can click on all of them, check them out. If you're a Global Comics person, as I was flipping through, there's a lot of free comics to choose from to get a good idea of what they're all about. So make sure to go there and check those out as well.
Yep.
Chris, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. I appreciate taking the time today.
Of course.
Hope to do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot, guys, for the time. It's been fun.